To become a skater, you need to think like a skater. And in this first part of my series for aggressive skating, I'm gonna teach you the fundamental things of how skaters think. There's a couple items like commitment, vision, and mental projections that will help you become a better skater. In this video, I'll cover all those items. Let's start with play. Play is essential because what is play? Play is doing maybe weird stuff that you wouldn't have thought, which is always safe. And it's never the final thing. It's never useful and it's always fun. You can discover, but you're always safe. And you have to have this mindset always when skating to be safe, to goof around a little bit within your own limitations. Never go outside limitations. Play is always within your limitations. But by playing, you'll grow the edge of your limitations actually. Because you cannot get better without playing. Then the next topic is that when you practice, you always have to start at the end of an exercise. People like to start at the beginning somehow. It sounds obvious, but if you cannot land a trick, you definitely should not try the trick, okay? And then there's landing, but usually a trick has like 5 different segments maybe. If you cannot do the last 2, you shouldn't start with the first one. And the practice should start from the last critical aspect and then go backwards to the beginning. For example, if you want to learn how to grind, the ending of grinding is that you drop in again in the quarter pipe here. So you should first drop in. Oops. Then you should be able to drop in from a grind position. Then you should be able to do the grind and drop in. And only when you can do that, you can start at the beginning. A very common mistake is for skaters to just start at the beginning and just throw themselves at it. And then something like this happens, which is also okay if you know how to fall. The next thing that I want to teach you is the mental process that you go through when doing a trick and when learning a trick. Every trick has a few fundamental aspects which are critical that you learn them and that you cannot do yet. At least if you want to learn a trick, you cannot do the trick yet. So there's something about this trick that is hard. In the fundamentals, you should identify what this aspect is that you cannot do. And usually this is a certain thing with a certain body position that you need to do during the trick. Okay, so when you learn backwards, for example, when you learn to ride backwards, you need to learn to push your heel outside. You also need to twist your body and to put your shoulders over here. So these 2 things are the fundamental critical things for riding backwards. And you should be able to make a picture in your mind of your body position. So what I'm doing now when riding backwards, I feel actually some tension in my back while twisting my body like this. So I'll take this feeling of twisting my back and I'll make a picture right now. Click. I'll internalize this feeling. And then your capacity to recall that picture and to re-feel those feelings is in a direct link to your capacity of doing that trick again. Usually a trick has a run up. So you make some speed, then you roll, then you do the trick. That rolling part before the trick, that's like 1 or 2 seconds. Those are the 2 seconds that you use to search in your computer brain, in your archives for the picture that you just took. You try to reimagine that picture and then you do it. But if you have a clear picture of what you should feel when you're doing the trick, then you can really do it. You'll get better and better at this taking pictures and at the reimagining the picture part right in front when you do the trick. This is often what you see skaters do. You'll see them approach an object or approach a trick. Boom, they look at the trick, they imagine themselves in a certain foot position, and then they take a new run up, and then they go, and then they jump on it. So that's what they're doing. That process, that's really important. Then when you can become better, this process actually gets more complicated. So there's an extra layer that we can put on top of it. And I want to draw this extra layer on a sheet of paper to make it more clear for you. Let's go. So when you make the picture in your mind, it's kind of like drawing a dartboard. So the dartboard has the bullseye here, and then first you draw the picture, and then when you actually do the trick, this is more like throwing the dart. And then if you imagine the trick properly, you'll throw the dart in the middle. So this is like a one-dimensional vision of doing this visualization aspect. But in reality, A lot of tricks have different aspects. Like for example, if you do a 360, first you have to twist your body before you jump. And then when you land, you have to twist your body again, but in the opposite direction. So there's usually 2 or sometimes 3 or 4 or maybe even 5 different critical moments that you need to visualize during your trick. So it's not just in the 2 seconds before, but sometimes it's actually during your trick that you have to switch your mental picture of what the critical moment is to something else. In that way, I can then like draw another dartboard right behind it for the second aspect, and then maybe a third one right behind it. And I see this more as like a vortex, and it's kind of like a little bit like going through a tunnel, like a tube, like this. First you enter the trick, boom, and then you just go through that tunnel and try to hit all those different visions in your mind. So this is when you're becoming a good skater, you'll be able to do this. But first, of course, you start with just one vision of simple tricks. And then later, once the tricks get more complicated, you'll learn to make that vision into a movie in your mind, a movie of the trick. And good skaters also do this in their bed, maybe before a competition. They try to visualize the tricks, or maybe just before you do the tricks, you have to be able to close your eyes and go through the trick in your mind. And if you cannot do that, then you cannot do the trick. This becomes really apparent when you learn the 540. 180s are fine, 360s are easy. Of course, if you cannot do it, it's not easy, so I'm sorry. And we have a tutorial on the 360 if you want to learn it. But this really becomes into effect when people are learning 540s. Because when people go from the step from learning 360s to 540s, you see that they cannot visualize the 540. They get stuck in their mind with the 360. They cannot close their eyes and visualize the 540. And that's the limiting factor in learning the 540. They think that they need to do a 360, but swing their arms more. And you'll see them do a perfect 360 with more swing in their arms, then they'll just sabotage themselves by opening their legs more or something. So you'll actually block yourself from doing the trick perfectly because you cannot visualize it. So this is one of the most important things in aggressive skating, is this visualization part. I'll go through a couple of tricks right now and show you what the critical thing is, what you should keep in your mind when you do this trick. When you want to learn to drop in, it's the body position. You'll have your elbows next to your body like this, and your hands in front of you. You're low to the ground, your knees are over toe, and you're crouched a little bit into a squat position. When you want to learn how to jump, the most important part is actually to land. And the thing that you should visualize is absorbing the energy of the landing. So you land actually stretched, and then you absorb it and crouch into the same position that you had when you drop in. When you do a soul grind, you should focus on having your foot bent like this with your knee on the outside of your body. It's a forward grind with your shoulders like this and not to the side. Also, your hips should be forward and your weight distribution should be 90% on your back foot and only 10% on your front foot. Your front foot should stand upright like this and not in a normal frontside position. When you do a frontside grind, you should focus on the strength of your body tension from your belly button down to create a perfect A-frame. The main thing with frontside is that the foot come close to each other and that you slip out like this. You should visualize this body tension to do it properly. Another classic example of this movie, playing this movie and visualizing this movie of the trick, is when you do kink rails. It's really common for people to land on a kink rail and then not make it through the kinks, because a kink rail has these kinks in it. When you want to do a kink rail, you should visualize landing the trick and then visualize balance, and then you go through 1 or 2 kinks. You should visualize that. Then you need to balance again. Those are 7 mental pictures that you need to have in your mind, and they should all play like a movie. People usually get stuck on the first picture, and then when they go through the trick, they still have the first picture in their mind, and then they cannot make it through the kinks, and then they just jump off. This is a really common thing. It's fun to practice this mental game. Next topic is the commitment of the trick. There's different tricks categories actually regarding commitment. Some categories you don't have to commit, and you can actually do it half, and it's good to build it up gradually. But other tricks, you have to commit. And the more you commit, the safer you are actually. And if you do it 90%, you're actually less safe than if you do it 100%. And it's difficult for you to know which trick fits in what category. You kind of like have to feel that a little bit in the beginning. I don't have a good way for you to tell right now, but I'll show you some examples, so maybe that will help. One of the beginning tricks that you can do is, if you have a quarter pipe, to roll up the quarter pipe and to go back fakie, okay? I just did this 5 centimeters height. Any skater, if you can stand on skates, you can do this. And then you can just build it up gradually. First, you don't have to even have the right posture. You can just do it like this, like that. Probably you'll fall. If you wear knee pads, that's no problem. Second time, probably you will not fall, and then you got it. And then you can do it higher and higher every time, and then gradually learn the right position of looking over your shoulders and having your foot in front of each other. It takes so many repetitions to acquire this skill, and it's good to just start with it. There's no problem, okay? You can just build it up. Another trick is dropping in. And dropping in, for example, if you don't commit and if you don't go for it, but also if you're not ready for it yet, then you're gonna fall, and you're gonna fall super hard. If you're not there with your mind, if you don't have the right posture, and if you don't focus on holding this posture, then you'll get hurt. Commitment is a big thing. It's fun to play around with the things that don't require commitment. So that's good. Find those tricks that you can just do without having to commit. Do that. Also, you should learn to commit to tricks. Find tricks that you know that you could do if you committed. And you need to learn when doubt should be cast aside, because in your heart you know that you can do it. And when doubt is the real feeling of you knowing that you cannot do it yet. There's a big distinction, and you need to learn it. Don't start with dropping in on your first day aggressive skating. Generally, you can build up anything. When you're in doubt, usually doubt comes from a place of knowledge of your capabilities, okay? When you're gonna navigate this path of the commitment, start with trusting your doubt, okay? And build up skills, and then that will take the doubt away. Taking away doubt comes from competence, and competence comes from practice. And practice comes from play. So play around, do the stuff that you can do. Aggressive skaters always stay within their comfort zone, and they only commit to stuff when they know that they can commit. So for example, when we talking about dropping in, there's always smaller quarter pipes, okay? Maybe not here in this skate park, but find a skate park somewhere in your country that has a really small quarter pipe, and then you can build up dropping in. Or you can drop in first from a bank. A bank is like a quarter pipe, but it goes in a straight line. It's a little bit easier because it doesn't have the radius. In general, you can always build up your trick, and you never have to really commit. But that having said, you should also learn to commit when you truly know that you can do it. And there's a process of learning this. So that's the next thing that I'm going to teach you now, is how can you make sure that you can commit when you're sure that you can do it, but you just are still a little bit afraid. But you know that the fear is not funded in your incapacity of doing it. So how to commit if you know that you can do it? The thing is, you need to do things a little bit in a flow while keeping your focus point of what you need to focus on, okay? Because there's always one or two, or maybe just a whole series of things that you need to keep in your mind when you do a trick. It's just that if you start at the starting point of a trick and you didn't commit yet, but you're deciding whether to commit or not on the starting position of the trick, you're gonna have usually a bad time. It's best to commit at a place where you're not starting, and then go to the starting position in a flow. So, for example, a big thing is dropping in the quarter pipe, okay? And you see a lot of people standing on the quarter pipe in fear of dropping in. A way better way to do this is go all the way to the fence, away from the transition and from the quarter pipe. Then you don't look at the quarter pipe, you look away, or maybe you even stand on the ground next to it. And then you think like, okay, I'm gonna do it. Yes, I'm gonna do it. Should I do it? Maybe you high five a friend, have some social pressure, and then you go up the quarter pipe, you go to the coping immediately, and you drop in immediately. So then you do it in a flow, and that's much better. Sometimes it takes a lot of tries to do a trick. Sometimes people are really hesitant to do a trick. All along they know that they can do it. And then you can also say to yourself, I want to do it. I'm gonna do it. So why not just do it now? That's just a little bit of a mental play that you can play yourself with. I hope all these mental tips that I just gave you will help you in your process of becoming a good skater. This was the first real lesson in the Aggressive Skate series. It's probably the most important one, because if you don't have this, you cannot pick it up in its entirety. So I hope you can practice this on your next session. Play around, of course, have fun. And we're gonna do a lot of different topics in aggressive skating. If you wanna get some skates, we have 3 stores right now, one in Antwerp, one in Amsterdam, and one in Berlin. So you can go there and try the skates on, see which one really fit the best. If you want to buy it online and get some more guidance, we have a lot of YouTube series as well on like what the best type of skate would be. So check it out on thisissoul.com. My name is Ivo, I'm the owner of This Is Soul Skate Shop and This Is Soul Academy. So you can always take a lesson if you want to learn some skating as well. We have a skate school here in Amsterdam, there's a skate school in Antwerp, and there's a skate school in Berlin as well. So maybe see you there one day, or see you at one of the events, or in our next video. Bye bye.